Few viewers watching Jourdan Blue's viral AGT performance knew how far back the story truly began. Jourdan Blue's path to national attention didn't start in front of cameras or studio microphones. It began quietly, during childhood, in a setting where artistic pursuits were more pastime than career possibility. Teachers recall him as a soft-spoken student who rarely demanded attention, yet possessed a natural sense of rhythm and tone that surfaced during school plays and small performances. These early moments didn't foreshadow future fame, but they revealed a young performer capable of emotional expression well beyond his age. Despite this, Blue didn't grow up imagining a future in entertainment. In fact, those close to him say he initially leaned toward a traditional career route, even enrolling in law school before realizing how unfulfilled he felt. Music remained a constant companion, showing up in downtime recordings, community events, and social media clips long before he took it seriously. Interviews suggest he struggled with the idea of choosing between a safe path and a deeply personal artistic pull. As a reporter assessing the early stage of his life, the most striking detail isn't that he was a standout child star, it's that he was. He was ordinary, uncertain, and quietly creative. And that makes the transformation that followed far more compelling, because it wasn't built from early fame or privileged opportunities. It was built from raw, unrefined potential waiting for the right moment to break through. His first attempt at breaking into televised competition didn't launch his career. It nearly ended it. Before America's Got Talent brought him national recognition, Blue tried his luck on American Idol. The audition didn't generate headlines, applause, or advancement. Instead, it left him questioning whether he had what it took to survive an industry known for fast wins and faster rejections. Friends described that moment as a discouraging blow, one that pushed him back into self-evaluation rather than celebration. Returning home, he attempted to redirect his life toward academics, yet the conflict between obligation and passion grew louder. He began taking on small, inconsistent performance opportunities, using makeshift equipment, low-budget recordings, and online postings to keep his creative side alive. The failure didn't just hurt his confidence, it changed how he interpreted success. Rather than chasing validation, he started focusing on authenticity, working to refine his sound and understand what separated long-lasting careers from fleeting viral moments. For reporters following his trajectory, this chapter is critical because it highlights a turning point seldom discussed openly by emerging performers. The moment when the dream feels fragile. Blue didn't quit, he recalibrated. And while the American Idol setback remained a footnote to most viewers, it became a shaping force behind the more polished, confident version of himself the world would later meet. Before his name ever trended, Blue faced a downward spiral that threatened not just his career, but his stability. During his teen years, Blue encountered significant turbulence, far beyond typical growing pains. By his own account, he struggled with substances and lost secure housing, forcing him into a transient lifestyle defined by uncertainty. He spent nights on friends' couches, in spare rooms, and in workplace spaces, trying to maintain a sense of safety while confronting the reality of displacement. At one point, he was working multiple odd jobs simply to afford basic necessities, often prioritizing survival over creativity. His grandfather eventually stepped in, offering a place to live and a chance to rebuild. According to personal interviews, this intervention likely prevented the situation from deteriorating further. Blue described this phase not as a dramatic episode, but as a long stretch of exhaustion, confusion, and emotional numbness. Yet even in that instability, music became a lifeline. He began singing not for audience approval, but to stay grounded, using his voice to process the chaos surrounding him. To an outside observer, this period explains the emotional weight behind his later performances. It wasn't theatrics, it was lived experience distilled into sound. For reporters analyzing his story, this chapter adds a layer of gravity to his future success, grounding it in the kind of resilience that cannot be manufactured. What many consider the start of his career didn't happen in a studio, but on the sidewalks of New Orleans. After stabilizing his life, Blue's next chapter unfolded on Bourbon Street, where he turned street performance into both a livelihood and a training ground. Using a portable speaker powered by his car battery, he set up on busy corners and sang for tourists, locals, and anyone willing to pause. These performances were raw, no sound team, no backup instruments, no curated lighting. Yet they drew consistent attention. Passers-by recorded clips, shared them online, and gradually contributed to a growing digital presence. What made these performances compelling wasn't perfection, it was vulnerability. He often sang while his girlfriend and young son waited nearby, reminding him that every note mattered. This created a unique blend of pressure and purpose that shaped his vocal delivery. His social media following grew from these street clips, turning viewers into supporters long before he stepped into televised competition. From a journalistic perspective, this grassroots stage became a critical training environment, teaching Blue how to connect with diverse audiences, adapt to unpredictable conditions, and find confidence without external validation. It was here, not on television, where his identity as an artist solidified, built from resilience, authenticity, and daily perseverance. Two major incidents would push Blue from street performance into national spotlight territory. The first was a dangerous health scare in his late teens, which he has described publicly as a moment that shook him into rethinking his priorities. Though he never details it explicitly, he refers to it as a turning point that forced him to reconsider certain habits and influences. The second occurred years later on New Year's Day 2025, when a violent altercation broke out on Bourbon Street near his usual performance area. Though Blue wasn't the target, the event struck close enough to affect him emotionally and professionally. Witnesses say the incident changed the atmosphere of the area for weeks, prompting him to rethink whether street performance was still the safest or most sustainable path for supporting his family. These two experiences, separated by time but linked by impact, pushed him toward a bigger stage. According to Blue, they made him realize that if he didn't take a major leap soon, he risked becoming stuck in a cycle of survival rather than growth. To reporters tracking his timeline, these incidents serve as catalysts, moments when circumstances forced him to choose between fear and opportunity. He chose the latter, leading him toward a decision that would alter the course of his life. When he finally walked onto the AGT stage, viewers expected a performance. Few predicted a phenomenon. Jourdan Blue arrived at America's Got Talent with little more than personal conviction and years of experience performing for strangers on the street. His audition song, a heartfelt rendition of Break-Even by The Script, unfolded with a depth that caught both judges and the audience off guard. The tone of his voice, shaped by hardship, street training, and emotional maturity, rang with authenticity. The room responded immediately. Audience members grew silent, leaning in as his performance intensified. Judges offered expressions ranging from surprise to visible emotional reaction. Then came the moment that propelled his audition into viral territory, Howie Mandel striking the golden buzzer. Gold confetti fell as Blue stood in disbelief, accompanied by his young son in a moment now shared across millions of screens. From a news perspective, this wasn't simply a strong audition. It was a breakout moment, transforming Blue from a local street performer into a national story overnight. His social media following surged. Media outlets began reporting on his background, and his name entered trending lists within hours. It marked the exact point where the narrative shifted from personal struggle to public recognition. Even after earning the Golden Buzzer, Blue's journey faced another unexpected test. During preparations for the live AGT quarterfinals, Blue reportedly became ill with food poisoning. Producers, aware of the physical strain, offered him the option to play his rehearsal footage instead of performing live. He declined, explaining that he didn't want viewers to see anything less than his authentic delivery. Despite visible exhaustion, he performed Biblical by Callum Scott with striking emotional control. Viewers noted the contrast between his drained appearance and the strength of his vocal execution. Judges commended his resilience and commitment to performing live under difficult conditions. As voting opened, audience members took to social platforms expressing admiration not only for his voice, but for the determination behind it. From a reporting stance, this moment demonstrated the consistency of his narrative, adversity followed by perseverance. His quarterfinals performance wasn't his most polished, yet it may have been his most defining, because it reaffirmed his dedication in a way that resonated deeply with viewers following his story. With his momentum growing, the question now shifts from how he got here to where he's headed next. Following his AGT exposure, Blue's online presence has continued expanding rapidly. Industry analysts note that his grassroots base gives him a unique advantage. He built a loyal audience before gaining television visibility. This foundation positions him well for future opportunities, whether in recording, touring, or digital content. Music producers and artist managers have already expressed interest publicly, and footage of his street performances continues circulating online, often reaching new listeners unfamiliar with his background. As he moves into the next phase of competition and career development, Blue appears to be focusing on balancing artistic direction with long-term goals. His past experiences, street performance, hardship, family responsibilities, suggest he approaches fame with caution rather than urgency. Yet the momentum surrounding him is undeniable. For reporters monitoring post-act trajectories, Blue stands out as a performer whose appeal is built on authenticity rather than spectacle. The next chapters of his story will likely revolve around how he channels that authenticity into sustainable career growth. Jourdan Blue's rise isn't a typical talent show success story. It's a narrative of setbacks, instability, street performances, viral moments, and unwavering resilience. He entered America's Got Talent with no guarantees and walked away as one of its most memorable figures, proof that powerful stories resonate when they're rooted in lived experience.